Morning guys. Today we are beginning module 5 and this unit is about creating linear equations, and our lesson today is module 5.1 and we are writing equations in slope-intercept form. And so let's look at our learning target. I can write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form given the slope and 1 point. And I can also write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form given 2 points. So we are going to do two things. In the first one, you may be given the slope and you may be given one of the ordered pairs. So using that, we are going to find the equation of the slope-intercept form of that, and then I can also be given two ordered pairs. So using that, again, we are writing an equation. So what is the slope-intercept form? Really quick, let's refresh our memory. It is y is equal to mx plus b. So y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Y-intercept. And that basically means where the line is going to intersect on the y-axis. All right, so we are converting our equations into the slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. So let's look at the first question that I have put on the board. And this says, we are going to write an equation for a line that passes through the ordered pair, negative 8, 6, and has a slope of negative 3/4. Okay, so now once again, I can see that if I'm given the slope of a line, the coordinates of any point on that line, I can create an equation for the line. So we are going to determine whether the given point is the y-intercept. If not, we are going to substitute the given information into the slope-intercept form equation to find the y-intercept. And then we are going to use the given slope and y-intercept that we found in step 1 to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So let's look at this one. I have my slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. Once again, this is my slope, the m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. So let's see, what do I have? So in this case, I am given the slope. So this is my, it's saying slope of this much, right? And I have my coordinates of x and y. This is x and this is y, but I don't have y-intercept. So that's what I'm going to try and find. And all I'm doing is I'm taking these values. This is x, this is y, and this one here is m. And I'm going to substitute these values into the equation. So what did we say y was? Y is 6. So 6 is equal to, my slope is negative 3/4. Negative 3/4 times, what is x? X is negative 8. So times negative 8 plus b. So now, as you can see, I am solving for b, which is nothing but the y-intercept. Okay? So if I simplify over here, okay, I have negative times negative, of course, is going to give me positive. I can already see that. But I can do this. This is 1 and this is 2. Negative 2, right? And so negative 2 times negative 3, it gives me what? This gives me negative 6. Positive 6, because negative times negative is going to give me positive. So 6 is equal to 6 plus b. And then what am I going to do? I am going to use the subtraction property of equality, and I am going to subtract 6 from both sides of the equation, and I get B is equal to 0. So my y-intercept is going to be 0. Okay, so once I have that, I am going to write the equation in the slope-intercept form. Okay, so in the slope-intercept form, and which is what? Y is equal to mx plus b. And then what do I have? I have y is equal to negative 3/4 x. And what is b? B is 0, so plus 0. And anything plus 0 is the number itself. So I am going to simplify, which is y is equal to negative 3/4 x. And here is my answer to this problem. And I've just written it out as an equation. Okay, let's do a word problem. And let's look at this question. Okay. So we are looking at this question, which is about baking. And this is saying that Marissa is baking a recipe that calls for her to turn down the temperature on her oven for part of the baking time. Write an equation to represent the situation if the temperature in her oven drops 25 degrees every 30 seconds. And after 2 minutes, the temperature is 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, is going to be X, all right? And the temperature in Fahrenheit is going to be Y. This is going to be Y. Okay, so what is my ordered pair? My ordered pair is going to be 2 and 350 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so this is X, this is Y. And then the change in X is 30 seconds or 0.5 minutes. And what does drop mean? Drop means a negative change. So the change in Y is negative 25 degree Fahrenheit. So if I'm looking for slope, which is change in Y over change in X, right? And that's what slope is. What is that? Change in Y over change in X. And that's what slope is. So if I'm looking at change in Y over change in X, we are going to say negative 25 over how much? 5/10, right? Or negative 50 per minute, okay? Or negative 50 per minute. And so that means that what is my slope? My slope is going to be negative 50. So M is negative 50. Okay, and so now having this value, I am going to go ahead and solve it. So we know that Y is equal to mx plus b. And I'm going to substitute the value. This is Y, this is X. So we have 350 is equal to, what is my slope? We just calculated as negative 50 times what is X, which is 2, plus B. And so now the negative 50 times 2, that is going to give me a negative 100 plus B. And addition property of equality, because addition is the inverse of subtraction. And I am going to add 100 to both sides of the equation. And I get B is equal to 450. So now I've got my y-intercept. So this means that the temperature of the oven was 450 degree Fahrenheit when it was turned off. And now I'm just going to write the equation. Y is equal to mx plus b. So we are going to substitute the value of m and we are going to substitute the value of the y-intercept into this equation. And so y is equal to, we know the slope is negative 50x and we just calculated the b, which is 450. So plus 450. And here is my equation for this problem. So let's do one more problem relating to this. And so we are finding the equation for a line that passes through negative 2, 5 and has a slope of 3. So as you can see, I have labeled the x, which is negative 2, y is 5, slope is 3. This is the slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead, substitute the values. What is y? Y is 5. What is slope? Slope is 3 times x is negative 2 plus b. Okay, and so then I have 5 is equal to 3 times negative 2 gives me negative 6. So this is negative 6 plus b. What is the inverse of subtraction? It's addition. So we are using the addition property of equality, and I am going to add 6 to both sides of the equation. So I am left with 11 is equal to b. So my y-intercept is b. Now I am going to substitute the values into the slope-intercept form, and I know that y is equal to, what is my slope provided is 3. So 3x plus my y-intercept is 11. And here is my equation for this line. So now we are going to write an equation where I am given 2 of the ordered pairs. And so as you can see, I've been given, this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, and this is y2. Okay, so I've been given 2 ordered pairs, but what do I need to do first? I need to first find the slope. Okay, so if I am finding what is my slope formula now? My slope formula, okay, my slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Because what am I doing? I'm doing change in y over change in x. So that's why y2 minus y1 is equal to x2 minus x1, and that is going to give me my slope. So I have labeled this as x1 and y1, x2 and y2. So let's go ahead and say slope, which is m, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now we are going to substitute the values, and slope is equal to, what is y2? y2 is 1 6/10, 1 6/10 minus negative 7/10 over, what is x2, which is negative 3 4/10 minus 1 2/10. So now when I simplify and I do 1 6/10, and this becomes plus 7/10, and that gives me 2 3/10 over, I have 1 6/10, I have negative 3 4/10 minus 1 2/10. So the same sign, and I'm going to go ahead and add them, and I get negative 4 6/10. And I know that 4 6/10 is double this, because 2 3/10 times 2 gives me 4 6/10, right? So therefore, what is this going to be? So this is 1, this is 2, which makes it what? negative 1/2 is nothing but 5/10. And so my slope is negative 5/10. Okay, so this is my slope. Now, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to find the y-intercept. So, to find the y-intercept, again, I am going to say we are going to use the slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, and then we are going to use either of the points to substitute the value of x and y. So let's say I choose these 2 points. You can either choose this or you can choose that, doesn't matter, but you can use either of the points for substitution. And so y is equal to 1 6/10, I'm substituting. I found my slope, which was negative 5/10 times what is x over here is negative 3 4/10 plus b. So I'm trying to calculate for the y-intercept. Okay, so I have 1 6/10 is equal to negative times negative is going to be positive. And so basically what is half of 3 4/10? Because that's what you do when you are multiplying with 5/10. And I get 1 7/10 plus b. And then I am going to use the subtraction property of equality, and I am going to subtract 1 7/10 from both sides. And so what am I left with? B is, now these are opposite sides, so I'm going to subtract and give the bigger absolute value. And so what am I left with? I'm left with negative 1/10. And so that is my y-intercept. And then the last thing I'm going to do over here is I am going to write it in the format y is equal to mx plus b. And I'm just going to go ahead and substitute the values. And I know that y is equal to my slope is negative 5/10 x plus, what did we say b was here? Okay, so plus negative 1/10, or in this case, we're just going to write minus 1/10. And there is my equation. Okay, and here is my equation for this problem. So let's do one last example, and again I'm giving you equation for a line that is passing through 3, -4 and -2, -8. So once again I've been given 2 ordered pairs, so I am going to use that first to find the slope. Then I am going to use either of the points and the slope calculated to find the y-intercept, and then I am just going to use the slope-intercept form of y is equal to mx plus b and substitute the values. Okay, so let's look at this. Here is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. So slope is equal to, what is y2 is -8 minus y1 is -4, right? Over -2 minus 3. And then when I am doing negative and negative next to each other, removing negativity gives me positivity, right? Because we are adding the opposite. So this becomes -8, m is equal to -8 plus 4. And then of course when I am adding the same signs, I am going to get -5 in that case. So what does this become? My slope is, this is -8 plus 4, and that gives me -4 over -2 minus 3, that gives me -5. And when I am dividing negative by negative, what do I get? I'm going to get positive. So my slope is going to be 4/5. So this is my m, which is my slope. All right. Now, next thing we are going to do is put it into this format. And I am going to use any of those, one of these. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to use this. And we are saying y, which is what? -8 is equal to my slope is 4/5 times what is x over here is -2 plus b. Right? So when I do this, I have -8 is equal to 4 times -2. Positive times negative is going to give me negative. So this gives me -8/5 plus b. And then I am going to subtract, because this is negative, so therefore what is the opposite of subtraction is addition. I'm going to use the addition property of equality, and I am going to say plus 8/5 plus 8/5 from both sides. And so I'm left with, 8/5 minus 8/5 gives me 0. I'm left with b is equal to, and when I simplify this, I get -32 over 5. -32 over 5. Okay, and so now I'm going to use the slope-intercept form. Y is equal to mx plus b, and I am going to substitute my values. What did I get for my slope? Which is, slope is 4/5 x plus, what did I get for b? Again, sorry, it is minus, so therefore this is not going to be plus, this is going to be minus 32 over 5. And here is my equation of this line written out. So basically, this is what writing equations in slope-intercept form means. So once again, in the first type of equation, we are provided one of the ordered pairs and we are given the slope. So in that, then we have to calculate what the y-intercept is. And then I have to rewrite the equation in my slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. Slope was already provided, so I put that into the equation. And then I am adding my y-intercept, which I just calculated. In the second form, I am provided the two ordered pairs. So then I have to go ahead and I have to first calculate what the slope is by doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is nothing but change in y over change in x. And once I calculate the slope, I am going to use one of the two ordered pairs to write it in the slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. And then I'm going to find the y-intercept. And then once I find the y-intercept, I'm going to replace or substitute the values of m and b in that slope-intercept form to write out the equation. And that's basically what module 5.1 is about, writing equations in slope-intercept form. Have a great day, everyone.